Good day. Let's talk about alcohol and how it entraps the mind. Alcoholism and other addictions actually do primarily affect the mind. And every time when you're not engaging in your addictive habit, you spend most of your time thinking, visualizing, or imagining how and when you're going to be doing what you do with your addiction. In the case of alcohol, I used to spend most of my time imagining, visualizing, thinking about how I would go and drink. That is mostly when I didn't have money. So I'd plan on my money before I got it. These ideas will be played and replayed in my mind every day, every time, and they will become precise and perfect, so that when I got money, it was like I was on autopilot. I never actually thought of using this money for good purposes, for things that would build me. Mostly it will all go into alcohol and anything that came after the drinking or along the drinking. I used to waste so much money. I'd say alcohol is like a crime that has a motive, something that has been planned, like a murder or a bank robbery, where precision and timing is needed. A lot of planning is put into this. That is how addiction actually affects our minds. Every time you are thinking or planning about using, you get to feel good. It actually increases your dopamine levels and keeps you going. So your mind actually knows, if I get this thing, I will become more happy. Life will become more better. And that is why when you promise yourself not to drink, you end up drinking again. This is because the promise is made from the bottom of your heart. But the mind is never part of this promise. You see, the mind knows that this thing is good for you. It is what is making you happy. You need it. The mind is actually preconditioned to think that without the alcohol, you cannot be happy. Without the alcohol, you cannot be normal. Most people get to be seen as addicts actually after drinking. That is when people see your unbecoming and unruly behaviors. But the fact of the matter is, addiction is in the mind. And if you are not doing what you're supposed to do during your addiction, your mind will be constantly occupied with the thoughts of your addictive behavior. Addiction isn't only about drugs and alcohol. There are people who are addicted to food, and they always be thinking about food. Eating makes them happy. There are people who are addicted to gambling. There are people who are addicted to gaming. There are people who are addicted to sex. And then your mind will always be thinking about sex. Every time your mind is tuned to this thing, because it is this thing that triggers you to become happy. Without it, it is very hard for you to enjoy life. Something is missing in you. Without alcohol, I always felt exposed, vulnerable. But when I drank alcohol, everything changed. I was a different person. I could smile. I could be happy. I could call somebody and tell them I loved them. I could compliment people. But when I'm not drunk, I will be down. When I'm thinking about alcohol, you see me smiling to myself. That is how alcohol and other addictive things warp our brains, making us prisoners of our thinking. And that is why to overcome an addiction, you need to change the way your brain thinks and processes information. You have to retrain your brain to understand that this thing actually isn't the key to your happiness, isn't the key to a good life. Now this takes time because it is a habit that has been formed over a long time. I don't think the first time I went to drink to get happy. Probably it was out of curiosity or peer pressure. But then the chemicals in the alcohol hits your brain and does something to you that makes you think, oh no, now this is good, and you'll want it again and again. And that is how addiction develops. It takes time. To overcome the addiction now will also take time. You have to do things differently from the way you used to do them during the addiction. You have now to train your mind to figure out and understand that this thing, now this alcohol, is not good for me. It is instead causing me problems when I expect it to bring me joy. I need to get out of this drinking. I need to change these habits. This is a slow process, but it needs repetition and consistency for it to stick, so that you don't spend your time thinking about alcohol. You need to get busy. You might need to have to replace alcohol with something else. Somebody talked about gaming, which again is addictive. You can read books. You can listen to podcasts. You can volunteer and do something. Just get yourself a little bit busy and preoccupied so that you keep your mind from thinking about this thing. And then you need to be present so that when you realize you're thinking about the alcohol, maybe gambling or sex, you can talk to yourself and change your course of thinking to something else. That is needing a training of a mind is required for you to overcome your addiction. I hope this helps you, and I hope you can overcome your addiction. I am glad I was able to overcome my addiction, and I am sober. And one thing I found out is that by becoming sober, I might have to help other people. This helps me sustain my sobriety. And it's good to see other people overcome their addictions.